So Matthias, it's so great that we're launching this partnership between Evroc and SUSE. I think we're two very unique European companies that are coming together to address a market that is really in need of a sovereign solution. Can you tell me a little bit about Evroc, what you guys do?
Well, Evroc, we're building the European cloud. There are trends, geopolitical trends that are making that more difficult if you're dealing with sensitive workloads. So what we want to do is to simplify for customers, really enable them to sort of move to sort of a sovereign solution to be compliant and control their own destiny.
So the word sovereign is a word of the industry that we hear a lot, especially in Europe. What do you see happening around digital sovereignty?
The world is unfortunately moving into the US, Europe, and Asia or China. And we want to be part of sort of helping that and make sure that each of the countries and continents can control their own destiny.
And their own destiny is their own data in a way, isn't it?
Absolutely. Their own data, their own sort of infrastructure.
And transparency about where your data sits, where your applications run, is becoming increasingly important as part of digital sovereignty. But for us, being an open source company, we see that the combination between the two of us, where you provide the data centers and we provide the software infrastructure on an open source basis, is a really powerful one because customers do want more transparency, right?
Yes, and for us, open source was sort of a fundamental piece. That's really what enabled us to build the cloud, or better cloud stack here, so absolutely. And with other trends of sort of AI happening now, that is really forcing more and more customers that previously were on-prem to move to the cloud.
What is sort of like the adoption percentage in Europe for cloud-native workloads?
About 80% of the companies in the US are using clouds, whereas only sort of 40% of the companies in Europe are doing that. We really want to help them in this journey, make it as easy as possible to transition to the cloud, to get all the benefits with scalability and security and a sort of flexibility.
For me, it's a little bit shocking to hear that Europe is only 50% there versus the US, where you would think that we're sort of like at the same level. Why is there such a difference between the adoption in Europe and the US?
Yeah, it's actually sort of interesting to reflect over these numbers. I mean, it varies between some of the countries in Europe, but I think there are two reasons. One is Europe needs to be sort of more aggressive when it comes to sort of deploying sort of IT. But the other thing is that sensitive data, you were not really able to store that in an American cloud because of GDPR and other things. So instead, you were forced to have your sort of an on-prem data center. And that is really what we want to help them with to benefit and scale up and use that in a secure way.
And that's something that we hear as well, by the way, because customers do want to move to the cloud. They do want to use open source to do it. They're just struggling because the choice they have is very limited to US vendors. And now with digital sovereignty being even driven from a political angle, I think there's even legislation being made, right? You're closer to this because you spend a lot of time with the EU.
Yeah, so I think that this is one thing that we're seeing, that Europe is starting to look into sort of how to promote Europe. I mean, really leveling the playing field. This is something that has been going on in the US for a long time. That the US governments are picking US companies. We're seeing it in China. Now Europe is want to do the same thing. So for certain sensitive workloads, I expect that it will be mandated to store that with sort of have a European stack.
It's going to be mandated. There's a lot of customers who want to really be careful with their data sovereignty. So the opportunity, given there's only 40% adoption, is huge.
It's huge. But I do want to sort of promote that what we're really trying to build here is something better. We don't want any of the European customers to compromise in any way. And this is really what we're so excited about in this partnership, how we can make it easier for customers to make it happen. We started 20 years later and can really benefit from all that. How do we build something that is sort of container-based, serverless, instead of the sort of the legacy workloads that existed before?
That creates really modern infrastructure. I am looking so forward to all the great things we can do together. This is awesome.